I'm standing in front of a mathematical impossibility. In the food industry, the formula for success is supposed to be simple. Stay open as long as possible and cut costs wherever you can. But this building ignores all of that. They voluntarily shut down operations for 52 days a year. They refuse to lower their food quality. They pay their staff higher than almost anyone else in the industry. And yet, this single location will likely generate $9 million this year. That is more than a McDonald's, a Subway, and a Wendy's combined. Chick-fil-A is the golden child of the food industry, and for an entrepreneur, it looks like the ultimate winning lottery ticket. But today, I'm going to tell you why, if I was offered the keys to this kingdom, I would actually give them back. Because hidden inside the most beloved brand in America is a business model that is brilliant for the corporation, but potentially a trap for the entrepreneur.
To understand the trap, you have to understand the timeline. This wasn't an overnight success. It was a 50-year siege. It started in 1946 with a diner called the Dwarf Grill, but the actual Chick-fil-A brand didn't launch until 21 years later in 1967. Truett Cathy opened that first location in the Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta, and for the next 2 decades, that was the entire strategy: own the food court. They were the pioneers of the mall food court. While McDonald's was busy buying up street corners, Chick-fil-A was quietly dominating the indoors.
I had a gift shop in Greenbrier Mall, the first enclosed mall in Atlanta, and so Truett's little brain had been running double time, and he came out and said, "Glass, what do you think about putting Chick-fil-A place out here?"
384 square feet there at Greenbrier Mall, literally a hole in the wall.
Place took off with a bang. And so he was the beginning of food in the mall.
They didn't open their first freestanding restaurant until 1986. Think about that. They spent nearly 20 years perfecting the model inside malls before they ever risked buying land for a standalone store. That patience paid off. By the year 2000, they had reached about 1,000 locations. It took them 33 years to hit that first 1,000. But then the snowball effect kicked in. By 2010, they hit 1,500 stores, and by 2019, they surged to 2,500. Today, they have over 3,000 locations nationwide. And here's the wildest stat. Out of those 3,100 stores, the vast majority, over 2,600 of them, are run by franchisees. They built a $22 billion empire, not by managing restaurants, but by managing people. And the way they select those people is where it starts to get dicey. But why are they so exclusive? I mean, there's over 3,000 stores, right? If you want to open a Subway, you essentially just need a pulse and a checkbook. But at Chick-fil-A, it is statistically harder to get a franchise here than it is to get into Harvard, Stanford, or the CIA. Every year, roughly 40,000 people apply to become an operator, and guess how many get selected? 100. That is an acceptance rate of roughly 0.25%. So why are they so picky? Because unlike a normal franchise, they aren't looking for investors. They don't care about your net worth. They are looking for disciples. The interview process can take 2 years. They interview your friends, they interview your family. They often even interview your spouse to make sure your marriage is stable enough to handle the workload. They are filtering for a very specific type of person. Someone who will treat this business not as an asset, but as a calling. And the big draw in is their price tag. Everyone knows the headline: you can own a Chick-fil-A for just $10,000. It sounds too good to be true, and in business, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. In a traditional franchise, let's say a Burger King, you might have to put up $1.5 million. You have to buy the land, pay for the construction, and buy the fryers and every other piece of equipment. It is expensive, yes, but because you paid for it, you own it. Chick-fil-A flips this model upside down. You pay $10,000, but Chick-fil-A corporate pays for everything else. They buy the real estate. They build the building. They own the inventory system. This implies that you are the owner, but legally, you are essentially a tenant. You don't hold the title to the property. You don't own any of the equipment. You are renting the opportunity to sell their chicken. And the rent? It is the most expensive in the industry. Let's dig into the P&L, because this is where the golden handcuffs start to get tightened. In a standard franchise, you pay a royalty fee, about 5% of your top line sales to corporate. At Chick-fil-A, that base royalty is 15%. That is 3 times the industry standard right off the top. But that's not the painful part. The painful part is the profit split. After you pay for the chicken, the staff, and that massive royalty, whatever profit is left over, Chick-fil-A takes 50% of it. Half. Imagine you work 60 hours a week, sweating in the kitchen, managing 100 teenage employees, and at the end of the year, you have to write a check for half of your bottom line back to Atlanta. Now, to be clear, because the store makes so much revenue, you will still take home a great paycheck, usually between $200,000 and $300,000. But you have to ask yourself, are you really an entrepreneur, or are you just a highly paid middle manager with a profit-sharing bonus? This brings us to the real reason I would personally turn it down. Real wealth in America is not built through income, it is built through equity. Let me give you a real-life example. I know a guy named Cal. Cal didn't start in fast food. He started on Wall Street, working in investment banking and trading at Merrill Lynch. He understood money more than anything else. He eventually left Wall Street to buy small businesses, things like a butcher shop, a pizzeria, and then he discovered franchising. He started out small, buying just 2 Orange Theory fitness locations. But when he went to sell those locations a few years later, he realized something that changed his life. He wasn't selling them to a mom and pop operator. He was selling them to a guy who owned 100 other locations. That was the light bulb moment. Cal realized he was playing too small. He realized that if he wanted real wealth, he didn't need a store, he needed a portfolio. So he got creative with his financing, using private lenders, SBA loans, all while maintaining equity for himself. He started buying units in hot franchise brands like European Wax Center, Dave's Hot Chicken, and Marco's Pizza. Today, Cal doesn't own one store. He owns over 100 active locations across multiple brands. And here's the key difference between him and a Chick-fil-A operator. Cal explicitly says he doesn't run his company for dividends or a yearly salary. He runs it for enterprise value. He builds these portfolios over 5 to 7 years, reinvests the cash flow, and he has set himself up to exit by selling the entire package to a larger private equity firm. In that world, businesses don't sell for the price of the equipment. They sell for a multiple of EBITDA, often 5 to 8 times their annual profit. Now look back at the Chick-fil-A operator. You run the store for 30 years, you make a great salary, you are a pillar of the community. But the day you retire, you hand the keys back to corporate. You cannot sell the store to a guy like Cal. You cannot pass it down to your children. You cannot get that 8x multiple exit check. Your exit value is 0. Because at Chick-fil-A, you never owned the asset, you just owned the job. And while you're running that job, you are in a very strict set of requirements. In normal franchising, the goal is to expand. You want to own 10, 20, 50 units. Chick-fil-A explicitly discourages this. The vast majority of operators are only allowed to have 1 location. Why? Because they want you in the dining room, wiping tables every single day. They don't want empire builders who sit in an office. They want operators who serve customers. And if you cross them, if you violate a policy or your service scores drop, because you don't own the real estate, they can terminate your contract much easier than a standard franchise. You have no leverage. The brand is the landlord, the supplier, and the boss. So does this mean Chick-fil-A is a scam? Absolutely not. If your goal is to make $250,000 a year plus with 0 financial risk and be a pillar of your community, it is literally the best job on earth. Chick-fil-A removes the risk of failure. In exchange, they cap the upside of success. It is a safe harbor. But true entrepreneurship isn't about safety. It's about scale. It's about ownership. It's about building something that exists without you. If I'm going to pour my blood, sweat, and tears into a business for 20 years, I want to be able to sell it and reap the rewards at the end. I don't want to be a tenant in my own success. So here's the question for you. Would you take the golden handcuffs, the guaranteed high salary with 0 equity, or would you risk it for the empire? If you want to build the empire, you have to find the right brands, not just the famous ones, but the profitable ones. And that is exactly what we do here at Franzi. We dig through thousands of FDDs, we interview the operators, and we find the hidden gems that allow you to build real wealth. If you want the hottest franchise brands sent straight to your inbox every single week, click the link in the description and sign up for our newsletter. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that subscribe button. We are just getting started. I'm Alex from Franzi, and I'll see you on the next one.